Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're so happy to have everyone with us today. My name is Susan Pridmore. I work for the AC Hub. And I just want to, for those of you who weren't on right at the beginning, we were watching Bria Sherman. Bria is a current student in graphic design at Algonquin College. Part of these events, we have some passive programming at the beginning to engage everyone and start our creativity process. So we had, sorry, there's a box that keeps coming up in here. We had Bria on today, and the idea is, we're working through the pandemic, and Taryn's going to speak to some tools that we can use to do that. And so Bria's painting something that speaks to her in terms of self-care and getting through the pandemic in the way that is best for her. And so at the end of the talk with Taryn, we will see the end result of Bria's piece. So I think just a really nice way to start things off, and certainly I couldn't stop smiling. It's very colorful, and again, a nice way to start things off. So again, my name is Susan Pridmore. I work for the AC Hub and Student Support Services, and these events are part of our AC Always Connected campaign. So we're thrilled to have moved our events online. We recognize that, we're all doing our best to support our students. And for our students that are joining us today, we're all here for you. And part of this AC Always Connected campaign is to make sure that you are feeling supported. And part of that is the culture at Algonquin College. And this is all part of that. We have been working with the college events team to make sure that we are bringing events that are relevant for students and staff, and really working hard on connecting everybody, even though we can't be on campus. So really important to us. The other thing I'll note is, if you're too shy, that's fine, but we really do encourage everyone to have their cameras on and engage in the chat, and let us know what you're thinking. We have some events that are so large that we have to have webinars, whereas this is a Zoom meeting. So we're privileged to see everybody's wonderful faces. So I encourage everyone to turn their cameras on so that we can say hello. So I'm going to start the way that we start every AC Always Connected event, and that is with a question. So for those of you who haven't been a part of this, I'm going to ask a question. We're all going to type it in the chat function, but then you're not going to press enter until I say so. And then the idea is, we ask this engaging question, we get in the mindset of what the talk is going to be about today, and we just start to engage with each other, and it's a bit of an icebreaker and a fun way to see who's online, and a nice way to hear everyone's voices. So today's question is, what did you want to be when you were little? So I'm going to ask everyone to open up their chat, type in your answer, and I'm going to count us down, and then we're all going to press enter. So I'm going to open up my chat box, and I'll just remind everybody, the question is, what did you want to be when you were little? All right, I'm typing in my answer. What did you want to be when you were little? Okay, I'm going to count us down. We're all going to press enter. 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. Okay, awesome. Marine biologist, hockey player, teacher, weather girl, a Jedi, amazing. I put a ballet dancer. I always say that. I should have been a ballet dancer in another life. Okay, some great answers, and thanks everyone for, again, engaging and getting this creative process started. Some great answers in there. Take a look. Okay. So now it is my privilege to introduce Taryn Watts. So Taryn was actually part of another event series that we used to have on campus called Third Thursday. She was one of our first presenters and blew us away, honest to goodness. Taryn, I don't know that I've ever said this to you, but you really set a benchmark. After you presented at Third Thursday, we were like, this is what we want Third Thursdays to look like. And the amount of positive response we got after Taryn presented was overwhelming. And I can't count the amount of times that people within the college and within our college community have reached out and asked me for Taryn's contact. And so once, we sort of moved into everyone working from home, and we thought about AC Always Connected and how we wanted to brand this campaign and really connect everybody. And create inspiring talks that would help us move through this very tricky situation. Taryn was one of the first people I thought of, and I said, we'd love to get her on, be able to walk us through some of the ways that that we can help ourselves. And really, it is all about self-care and learning how to do that. Part of the talk that she gave when she was first on campus still resonates with me. And it was just such a pleasure to have her. So it really is now my pleasure to introduce her. If for those of you who didn't see the video that we had up on our site to promote Taryn, there's a few things in there that I did want to mention. And I could say lots about her, but in 2020, she was voted Ottawa's best life coach. So since we've seen her, certainly in 2018, she's really grown, and it's just so nice to see, someone within Ottawa really succeeding and on a worldwide demographic. And certainly the Mind Rebel Academy is growing, and she has created, this revolutionary method that is really affecting a lot of people in a positive manner. And so it's really, really great to see. I have a note in my agenda here to make sure that everyone knows they need to have a pen and paper, because Taryn is going to put us to some mindful work today. So we want to be prepared. And again, I encourage everyone to turn your cameras on so that we can see you. And I'm going to ask everybody to give a virtual wave as we welcome Taryn. And Taryn, I will pass it over to you.
Oh, thank you. What a beautiful intro. I've got tears in my eyes. That was so beautiful. So thank you for being here. And Susan, thank you for asking me to be here. I love events like these where we can come together and we can talk about things that really matter. And conversations like these just light my soul on fire. So thank you for being here. And thanks for having your camera on too, for all of you who I can see. It feels good to be able to connect with you. So this is going to be an engaging session in that I'm gonna just talk a lot, and what I'd love for you to do, and then there's actually going to be some space for some deeper reflection. So I'm going to run you through a couple exercises. So please do be sure you have a pen and paper, like a notebook or a journal handy. And then I'd love to get you engaged in the chat. It's always good as the presenter to just know you guys are with me, and I'm feeling you, and I know where you're at. So please feel free to send comments in the chat. And then we will have a Q&A session. We'll have a kind of open Q&A near the end. So if you have any questions, though, as I'm talking, post it in the chat. And I believe Susan is going to help me moderate those. So I am so grateful to have this opportunity to chat with you guys all about finding purpose and finding meaning in the midst of this pandemic. So during our time together, I want to draw your attention inward. I really want you to ask yourselves some hard questions. And I want to get you really, really reflecting on things that perhaps you do, but perhaps haven't thought about in a while or ever thought about. So again, please make sure you have a notebook and pen ready. So as Susan mentioned, I am the founder of the Mind Rebel Academy, and I train and support world-class coaches. So I started off my career as a coach doing life coaching, supporting people one-on-one. And then over the last year and a half, as Susan mentioned, my business has kind of taken a whole new direction, and now I'm training coaches, which is so fun. But what I thought I would do with you guys today is I wanted to teach you one of my most favorite and one of the most powerful coaching tools that I teach my students, which is a coaching tool called reframing. So reframing means to change your viewpoint of how you're experiencing a situation. And when we change our viewpoint, when we change our perception, we change its entire meaning. We ultimately change our reality. So let's talk about how we can reframe the current situation that we are in, that we are all in. And to be honest, like, there's so many different ways we can look at our current reality, right? Some people believe it's like, you know, a conspiracy theory to have our governments control us. Other people think that it's, you know, Mother Nature correcting all the harm that we've done to the planet. Some people don't really think this is a big deal at all. Some people are like absolutely loving quarantine life and don't want to go back to normal. And some people are actually just really, really, really paralyzed in fear. And so there's this whole range of emotion and spectrum of feeling that the world as a collective is feeling about this right now. And the reality is we're not all in the same boat, right? There's that saying that says we're all in the same storm, but not all in the same boat. But one thing I have found about, are we in week 10? Is it I feel like it's week 10, is it? Of quarantine? Yeah. So one thing I have felt about being in 10 weeks of quarantine is that social media and people's opinions have been getting extra loud lately. Is anyone else feeling that, or is that just me? Like, let me know in the comments. Like, I am feeling, yeah, like so loud. And what happens, and I talked about this a year and a half ago when I came to do a talk in person. But what happens when the noise of the world gets really loud is that we begin to lose our own sense of inner voice, intuition, and wisdom. And other people's opinions, it kind of starts to bleed into our space. And it gets really, really complicated and really noisy and really loud. So for the next 45 minutes that we have together, I'd love if we could all just agree to put all distractions aside, except for Bria. Bria's got to keep painting. But put all distractions aside, like put away your phones, turn off any like notifications that might be popping up on your computer. And really, let's just use this space to do some of this deeper reflection. So I want to, actually want to walk you through, you guys, a little exercise. So I'm going to ask you all to close down your eyes for a second. Put down anything in your hands and close down your eyes. And if it's comfortable to do so, I'm going to ask you to plant your feet into the ground, like onto the floor. And take a really big, deep breath here. Now take your fists, and I want you to squeeze your fists as hard as you can. So any thoughts swirling, any energy, any stress, anything at all that's going on in your body, like really intentionally squeeze that as hard as you can and put it into your fists. 3, 2, 1, and just let it go, and even shake it out if you want to. And just take a big deep breath here and just allowing your whole body to relax. And relaxing your shoulders, bringing them away from your ears. Unclenching your jaw. Removing your tongue from the roof of your mouth. And relaxing the space in between your eyes. Just taking another big deep breath here, breathing all the way down into your hips and down into the soles of your feet. And now I want you to draw your attention inward. Our bodies are this incredible tool that is always speaking to us. And we hold all of our emotions and everything that we're feeling inside in our bodies. And so I want you to actually scan your body, starting at the very root of your spine. Just really like slowly rising up and placing your hands over the area of your body where you're feeling the most amount of energy right now. And just recognizing that there is an emotion that lives here. And ask yourself, what is it that I actually feel in my body? What am I feeling? And just breathing into that space. And when you've been able to properly name something, I invite you to please post that in the chat. This is a really awesome way to check in to see how everyone's really doing. Yeah, so I'm hearing tension, anxiety, tension, worry, fear, low-grade anxiety, uncertainty, power, worry. I feel calm today, but there's definitely not everyday fear, anxiety, stress, loneliness, anxious. So there's a lot of, so thank you guys for being brave enough to post that in the chat. And that is, you're not alone. And I think that one of the most powerful things about this exercise and doing this exercise in a group setting is to see okay, I feel fear right now. I feel worry. I feel anxious, but I'm not alone here, right? Look at how many people are feeling the same kinds of emotions as you. And so the first step at helping emotions release through your body is to actually go through that process of actually naming it. What do I feel right now? And we don't do that very often. We're very used to pushing those emotions down and not feeling the uncomfortable emotions. But really just sinking into your body and asking yourself, what do I feel, is actually the first step in starting the release process. And my hope is that by the end of our session today, some of those feelings are starting to feel lighter. And some of those feelings, my goal is to inspire you today and to, again, help you to reposition and reframe the feelings and the current state of reality so that you can find purpose and meaning in this state. So thank you for that. The truth is that right now we have very, very little control over the external circumstances of our lives. And the only thing that we can control, and really the only thing we can truly ever control, is how we feel inside. This is our internal world, right? We can't control the external reality, but what we do have full control over is our internal reality. And we get to choose how we see this situation, how we see the circumstances of our lives as it relates to our own personal experience. And we can begin by start asking ourselves questions like, what's here for me? Or what is inside of this experience for me to really learn and grow from? So I want to offer a perspective, a reframe that may help, and that has tremendously, tremendously helped me in repositioning what is going on in the world right now. So my question to you is, what if you chose the perspective that life is working perfectly? I want to, one of my favorite scientific theories is called chaos theory. And chaos theory states that if you look at any chaotic environment in nature, and if you stand back far enough, what you will see is order and harmony trying to emerge, right? And sometimes things need to completely break down and break apart in order for the harmony to reemerge. And so if we could take a couple steps back into that broader perspective of your own life, of your own internal world, right? Think about this. We live in an overstimulated, stressed out, rushed, and incredibly, ridiculously busy world. And as a collective, not only are we disconnected from each other and our earth, right? But what's even more harmful is that we are deeply disconnected from ourselves. That is the great pandemic of the world right now, is this complete disconnection from ourselves. And this reframe suggests or offers, what if life has been whispering to us, trying to get our attention, that the system we're living in is not working for us, right? What if we've been too busy to listen? What if COVID-19 is life's way of really screaming at us, breaking us down and giving us no choice but to go within, right? We've been asked to distance ourselves from others, like refrain from social gatherings, like cancel our plans, retreat inwards, right? So here we are, everyone kind of tucked away in their own little corner of the earth, in their own homes, right? And we've been given a whole lot of space. And I choose, because perception is truly a choice, but I choose to believe that what we do with this space and what we do in this time has the potential to change the course of our lives and ultimately the world. But it starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with us. It starts at the individual level, right? It starts with your life, with your choices, with your actions, which ultimately starts with how you choose to perceive your world. Okay, so I want to do a little exercise with you guys. So you're going to need your pen and paper for this. I want to do an exercise, and it's called, it's a coaching exercise called the backdoor inquiry. So I am going to ask you a question, a series, actually no, I am going to start a sentence. And I want you to just, don't worry about writing down what I'm saying, just write your response down, because I'm going to move really quick through this. The idea is that I'm giving you like a couple seconds to write down your answer so that your like conscious mind can't filter your answer. We're trying to get to the back of your like subconscious thoughts and beliefs and perceptions. All right, so you're going to just write down what comes through on the piece of paper. I'm not going to ask you to share this in the group chat, so please be honest on your piece of paper, okay? Are you ready? Okay. Life is. I never have enough. In order to live the big, bold, beautiful life that I yearn for, I will have to give up. Joyful people. Wanting more than I actually need is. Failure is. Being alone with myself is. Achieving my biggest, wildest dream is. Freedom is. The universe or life, or whatever you call it, is. So it's a super interesting exercise to see what's really going on in there. And I'm curious, I'd love to hear some of the thoughts on, I see some smiles. I'd love to hear some of the thoughts about that exercise or what came through for you. But as you just like really just reflect on those answers, right? Recognize that the quality of those are beliefs, right? And the quality of those beliefs determine the quality of our lives. Really, really, really powerful stuff. So shining a great, like doing an exercise like this and shining a great big spotlight on right, like on these beliefs is the first step in challenging or reframing any of these thoughts. And that's what I want to dissect and talk about for the rest of the session today. So from a neurological perspective, let's talk about what thoughts are, or what beliefs are. If we could just like shine a great big like microscope onto your brain, I want to talk to you about what this looks like. So it's actually helpful to break our brain down into 3 separate functions. So the first function is the neocortex. And in evolutionary terms, this is the newest part of our brain. It's the most highly evolved, it's the most specialized in human behavior. It's where all of our creativity and innovation and problem solving, all those beautiful things that we actually want to access more of, is in the neocortex. It's our conscious brain. The second brain sits right underneath the neocortex, and it's called the limbic brain. And this is the chemical and emotional brain. This is where our emotions are born from. And the third and the most fascinating part of our brain is, it's actually the oldest part of our brain in terms of evolution, and it's called the cerebellum. And it's also referred to as the reptilian brain. So it's like the fight, flight, or freeze, like that kind of brain. So this is some people refer to this as our subconscious mind. So doing an exercise like this backdoor exercise is really getting to the root of your subconscious mind and what beliefs are just like deeply ingrained and deeply rooted in that part of your brain. So the reptilian brain's primary function is to keep you safe. It is responsible for our survival. It's the mechanism, it like signals your body, like I was mentioning, the fight, flight, or freeze, which were like really, really, really important functions in ancient days, but not as important in today in the developed world. But as we were talking about, in our overstimulated, in our overworked, in our overachieving environment, this part of our brain is actually on constant guard against incoming threats or attacks. So it seeks to maintain this homeostasis. So it's the voice actually inside that says like, move, get out of the way, like there's a car coming, it's gonna hit you. It's like that voice. But it's also the voice that says, oh, you shouldn't dream that big. There's no point. Or you disappoint too many people if you actually spoke your truth. Or, oh, don't apply for that job, you won't get it anyway. Or you can't wear that, you've gained too much weight. It's that voice, right? That tries to keep us safe. And again, like we were talking about earlier, the constant loudness of what is going on in our world today is actually triggering this part of our brain to be on guard from threats. So these are limiting beliefs. That's what limiting beliefs are. These are thought patterns designed to keep you safe, designed to prevent you from stepping outside your comfort zone. So the brain is made up of billions of neurons, and nerves have the ability to store information and communicate to each other. So neuroscience states that nerve cells that fire together wire together. So in other words, imagine the belief, I'm not smart enough. Imagine what that looks like in your brain. If you can imagine, it's like an interconnected system of all these neurons that have merged together and that literally light up every time a new experience comes to you that like triggers that limiting belief in your mind. These neural pathways start to light up. And in order to change beliefs, change perceptions, this neural pathway over here has to actually be broken apart. And new ones, new beliefs, have to be forged and formed. In other words, like changing your beliefs is, in my opinion, the hardest thing we will ever do. It's really friggin' hard. And so it takes forming new habits. It takes consciously choosing new thoughts. It takes work until these beliefs over here start to like slowly break apart, and these beliefs, these new ones that you're replacing them with, start to forge together. So in my experience with working with hundreds of people from across the world. When it comes to reframing or changing beliefs, there are two things that are required. And the first is acknowledging that they're there. The first is actually saying, okay, here's my limiting beliefs, and here's actually how it's actually preventing me from moving forward in the world. And the second, and this is equally as important, is the willingness to open to new ideas, to try new things, to create new habits, to try on new beliefs, even when they feel really, really uncomfortable, because let me tell you, they will. New beliefs feel really uncomfortable. Yeah, Megan's saying amen to willingness. You have to be open to this work, absolutely. So, all right, I'm gonna walk you through another exercise. I want you guys to, on a piece of paper, just drawing like a circle in the middle. And in the middle of the, like, just like that. And in the middle of the circle, I want you to write, my big, bold, beautiful dream. My big, bold, beautiful dream or life. And this is like a thought bubble. Okay, so you're kind of doing like the prongs out of the thought bubble here, like this. And I want to give you a little bit of space here to dream and to ask yourself, if I could be, do, or have anything, the sky is the limit, what would I create for my life? So you can put some goals on there. You can put some, like some feelings on there, things you want to experience, things you want to accomplish, things you want to create. And if you think about it, guys, we have one life. So make it big. What's really fascinating is that with many, I would say 90% of the people I work with and coach, what's interesting is that we often need permission to dream this big. And like, there's often layers of how big we can dream. It's like, here are my like, okay, these feel good, but I want you to dream so big that it actually like terrifies your mind a little bit, but it makes you feel so alive inside. That's how big I want this dream to be for you. All right, now this is something that I'd love for you to revisit and give just some more like dedicated carved out space for, so that you can really, really sink into that exercise. But on the next page, I want you to take a very, very honest inventory of where you are today. A very honest inventory of where you are today as it relates to that vision. And if you have any questions, guys, post it in the chat.
Taryn, I don't want to jump in, but I'd posted in the chat, it might have gotten lost. How do we take this how do we take this inventory? Is it in relation to how far we are from this stream today, or?
Yeah, so it's like an honest inventory of, okay, so this is the vision. So let me give you an example. Okay, thank you, Megan. Megan is actually an alumni coach from the Mind Rebel Academy. So, so nice to have you here, Megan. Okay, so I started doing this process 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I was in a decade-long job working for the government and working in a job that was like very comfortable, very cozy, great pension, great all things. But I was just not passionate about this job. It was like kind of a clock in, clock out. And 4 years ago, something changed in my life. I had just gone back to work after my last mat leave with my daughter. And it was like this moment hit me where I was like, oh, this can't be forever. Like now I have to come up with a plan. Like I have to come up with a plan here. So I decided that I needed to create the vision. So this is the first step. I created this vision of what I wanted my life to look like. At that time, I had already graduated from my coaching school. So I was already coached, but I wasn't coaching anyone. So the vision was, I am at home. I am coaching from my little office. I am able to get my kids on and off the bus every day. We have so much space in our schedules. I am responsible for my own income. The sky is the limit as to what I could create. I am working with incredible women. I work with women only. I love men, but I work with women only. But I'm working with incredible women, and I have a thriving coaching business and a thriving practice. And I was just like, that was the big vision. Okay, so that was the vision. Then when I took a really honest inventory of where am I today, I'm very honestly in a job I'm really comfortable in, but I'm not passionate about. Like that was like I had to come to that was a come to Jesus moment for me that, okay, this is reality, right? The other reality was, okay, I have no clients. I have no coaching clients. I have no website. I have no business. So it was like, okay, I'm just going to take, as it relates to this vision, where am I today? So that I could really, really define what's the gap? What is the gap from here to there? Okay, is that helpful? Is that easier to, okay, so I want to give you a couple more minutes to just identify that inventory for yourself. Take that inventory of where are you today in relation to that vision. Megan Fraser, I want to answer your question. Why do I choose to work only with women? So when I was doing my one-on-one coaching, that was my ideal client was a woman who was in a certain particular stage of her life where she was like yearning for more and wanting to do kind of the same self-discovery work that I've been doing for the last decade. And and now that I am training coaches, I'm actually like wanting to train coaches who want to work with men and who want to work with kids and who want to work with like everyone to take this work to kind of like the different people in the world. But just like my niche, who I love, love, love to work with is women. Mike, when we list our inventory, we can include positive things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Positive things. Yeah. And that just will show you, okay, like I've come far, like I'm on the journey, I'm on my way. Yeah. All right, so you've got the vision and you've got the inventory of where you stand today. This makes the gap, what I call your growing edge, clear. Okay, so we can do something with a gap. As long as it's defined, we can do something with that. And now the key here, guys, is depending on how large your vision is, and I had a humongous vision compared to where I was in my life, like it was very big, you know, and just to even, yeah, so depending on, so we want to break this down into manageable chunks. So I want to ask you, what are your next 1 to 3, no more than 3 next best steps to help you close that gap, and break it down into those manageable chunks. They could be small baby steps. It could be something big that has been like, brewing in the background and that you're really feeling ready to do. But it's just 1 to 3 next best steps. This method of defining the vision, taking inventory, and defining my next 1 to 3 next best steps has been what's carried me through the last 4 years since I made the jump. Actually, it's not even been 4 years, it's only been 3 years. But since I've made the jump of leaving my corporate job and following my passions, this has been what has every step of the way, I'm always asking myself, what are those 1 to 3 next best steps? There's a message that came in privately that I just want to talk about. I won't say the name, but I would love to talk about. The question is, how do you make a move like that about something you're really passionate about if you're on one income and you're nervous about money? So I just really want to speak to that, because money is so often the crusher of dreams. Like reality and paying bills and all those things, it's usually the crusher of dreams. And it doesn't have to be. So just to paint a better picture of my current reality when I made this 4 years ago. We were not, my husband and I, we had a 1 and 2 year old at home. We were not in a position for me to leave my job and start my passion and start my business and jump ship. Like, that was not our current state. We were actually struggling financially. Our car cost less than our stroller. I'll never forget this day, you guys. It was my son's 2nd birthday, and we were driving to his birthday party, and the car caught on fire. Like, the hood of the car caught on. It was like a moment of like, okay, shit's got to change. It was intense. So our current reality wasn't one of financial abundance where I could make this shift, right? So when I looked at, okay, what are those 1 to 3 next steps? And I looked at, how am I showing up in my life today? That next step was not leave my job and become a coach full time. Like, that didn't feel right in my body. That felt actually very stressful. It was putting my family in danger. It would have been a very irresponsible decision for me. So I reined it back in, even though every part of me wanted to, have that moment of like, I'm out of here. But it wasn't a reality. So I really had to take a step back and ask myself, okay, what are those 1 to 3 next steps? And so for me, it was, 1, I created a really solid visualization and journal practice in my day, because I wanted to stay connected to this vision every single day. I didn't want this to be something I just visited in my journal once a month. I wanted to live in this vision every single day. And so one of my next best steps was to carve out my mornings. And at that time in my life, you guys, with a 1 and 2 year old working full-time downtown Ottawa, I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning to do this work. Sorry, I shouldn't swear here, but it was nuts. It was really, really nuts. But it was so integral for me to stay connected to that vision. What am I working for, right? The second next best step I had was, I got to start taking on clients. I want this beautiful, thriving coaching practice, and they're not going to fall out of thin air. I have to actually put myself out there. And at the time, I couldn't even say the words, I'm a life coach. That was 4 years ago. Okay. I couldn't even say the words, I am a life coach. It just felt I felt like an imposter. I felt like, who am I to be a life coach? Right. And so my next best step was, I'm going to get my first paid client. So I'm going to start saying the words, I'm a life coach. Do you want to work with me? Right. And I'm going to show up for that one client, even though she's paying me it was $20. I'm going to show up for her as if she was paying me hundreds of dollars. That's the energy I want to bring to this, because that's the energy of my vision, right? And then the next best step, the third one was, it was to write articles, like blog articles, to start putting myself out there more. It was also extremely vulnerable and extremely hard. In fact, the first time I wrote my first blog article, I pressed send and I submitted it to the worldwide internet, and I threw up from anxiety. Like, I was just like, this is so big. And it was probably literally 4 people who read it, including my mom and dad. So it was just really, I had to, again, but that first step of my journal practice in the morning, of staying connected to this vision, was so integral to all these other steps, or else I wouldn't have continued on. And so I kept revisiting, okay, what's my next best step after that? What's my next best step after that? And then that is how, and I always say, like, when you just follow those next best steps, the energy and the intelligence of life starts to rearrange around you. And it starts to bring you things, and it starts to just magnetize your vision towards you. And so that was 4 years ago. When I started that, within 9 months, I had grown my business, my practice, to the point where I could leave my job within 9 months. And now today, I am now training world-class coaches, and not just doing one-on-one coaching, but training coaches. And my business has been so financially successful that we were able to retire my husband a couple months ago so that he could focus on his passion and build his business. Like, what the hell is happening? Like, I am so often like, how is this happening? But this is how we do, this is how I've done it always, is inside this plan, and just asking myself, staying connected to the vision, and what are those next best steps? So I want to leave you with that, and I want to open it up for any questions. So I just want to actually answer the original question that was asked about financial. So it was developing a plan of action and having goals. So we had a financial goal of, we need to save this much money in order for me to, to jump. I need to have this many clients. So it's like, again, not putting yourself in a position where you're putting yourself in a stressful situation. It's being really, really strategic and really logical about what those next best steps are, and staying super connected to that vision. And the path will unfold. It really will. Okay, so I want to open it up to questions, but I really this was like a really quick exercise, but what I would love for you guys to do is take this away and spend some time inside of it, and to spend some time really defining those 3 things. What's the vision? Where am I today? And what's the gap? And what are those next best steps right in front of me? And keep revisiting it as the path unfolds. Okay.
Amazing. So good. We have our events team has a chat going on the side, just in terms of logistics and such, but we can't stop saying, every time we hear you speak, we're just so motivated. And I'm already seeing, some comments in the chat. Certainly it can be overwhelming, and there's, work to do. But I said, like, even this exercise helps me so much. And yeah, we're just so appreciative. So what we want to do now is, we're currently spotlighting Taryn on the Zoom call. We're going to remove the spotlight so that we can see everybody, because we really want everyone to feel connected, and this is a safe space. So I'll just ask Michelle to remove. Okay, perfect. Okay, and so if everybody wants to go to gallery view, I'm really going to encourage everyone to turn your cameras on. I want to see everyone's faces. Awesome. And go to gallery view, and we can connect with each other. And this is really what this is all about. I feel very moved. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to questions for Taryn. So again, feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to ask Michelle and Leanne, who are helping me out in the back end here. You can raise your hand in the chat, and we can call on you. You can ask your question live. Or we will take them from the chat box. That's also okay. But I just want to encourage everyone to have a voice. That's, we're really trying to encourage that. Okay, so I'm going to start. Taryn, you talked a lot about, engaging in change and filling in that gap. And certainly that's where the work comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And to share with everyone, the thing that I struggle with most is the vulnerability piece. And you did touch on that a little bit. But even just to get over that initial hump of, feeling vulnerable and maybe not wanting to put yourself out there and accept that change. And especially in this time, I think a lot of people are struggling. And again, I can't speak for other people, but my personal experience, I have a partner. We love each other dearly, but certainly we are in the same household all the time. And, things are changing in the dynamic of our relationship, and being able to get past that vulnerability. And one of the things that, I wrote on my big list is to be able to connect better and be able to express my feelings better. I'm just curious if you have specific tools for that.
Oh, so Susan, that is like, to me, that's like, it's like, okay, so it's being super intentional in each and every conversation. So it's like, yeah, there's things that we can do, like, for example, if you want to be a better public speaker, you can go to the Toastmasters, or like that could be a next best step, certainly. But there's other things that are more kind of like integrated in your every moment. So for something like communication, it's like, okay, so getting really clear about how do I want to communicate with other human beings, like including my partner, including the people I work with, including but how do I want to make people feel? Like getting really clear about how do I want to like speak? Is there anyone even that thinking about, is there anyone that I really admire how they communicate? And kind of ask yourself, like, what are the qualities that they have that I love? Like, and again, that's getting super clear on the vision piece. What does that look like? And then the key really to close that gap from where you are today to where you're going is to begin showing up in the world as this version of you over here. So becoming very intentional in every single communication you have and bringing that energy forward. And really, like, that is your practice, is in every communication, is being that intentional. Is that helpful, Susan?
Yes, very. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Okay, I want to keep it open. If anyone has a question, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. I can see, and I appreciate people's time. It's you have to get to another meeting, or we have people who need to go feed their kids, which is completely understandable. So what I'm going to do, and again, feel free, put your question in the chat there and we can try to get to it, but we're looking at the time. I want to make sure that we leave time to say hello to Bria again. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who missed the beginning, we do some passive programming at the beginning of our AC Always Connected events. And again, just to get the creative juices flowing and to really highlight a local artist. And so today we had Bria Sherman, who has her own company now, Half Designs. And Bria is a current student and in fact an alumni at Algonquin College. And she used to work with us. So just an overall talented girl. And so she started a piece at the beginning. And so now we are going to do the reveal of the piece. And this was Bria's interpretation of self-care through art. So Bria, I'll pass it over to you and you can share with us the final piece.
So here it is.
Yay.
And it says, water your own garden. So just reiterating the whole, like, take care of yourself. Give your body and your mind what you need. And you need to take care of yourself first through all of this craziness. And there's a lot of pressure to kind of be productive and be the best during this quarantine time and get in the best shape of your life and that kind of thing. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself first.
Amazing. Thank you, Bria. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Okay, if there are no more questions, I just really want to say thank you so much to Taryn. I've said it already, but I will repeat myself. It really is such an honor to have you And these exercises can be super helpful. Again, check Taryn out on social media, on the events page, on the Student Support Services page. All her links are there, and we're posting them now in the chat. So, you know, I follow Taryn on Instagram personally, and those messages help me, you know, through a lot of days, and a lot of the things that she says really do resonate. So I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you for sharing your screens. It really is important for us to be connecting, and it means so much. So I appreciate that. And I want you guys to look forward to our next events, and to make sure to stay engaged with our AC community. And I say thank you to Taryn, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you all.